thanks to all of you for spending part of your evening with us to talk about Vision Zero. We know that transportation safety has a big impact on your quality of life. So I'm Liv Lewin, Boulder County's Vision Zero program manager and the PM on this project. And with me is my colleague, Mark Schisler. Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Schisler. I am the traffic engineer for Boulder County.
Great. Thanks, Mark. So in just a moment, I'll hand things back to our consultant lead, Nikki. For now, I just wanted to share that, we're going to start by explaining what Vision Zero is and what this project, the Vision Zero Action Plan, is all about. And really, tonight, we're here to hear from you and to also make sure that you can share more input through our online survey and map, which Nikki will describe. So this meeting will be recorded. It is being recorded, and we will post it on the project website probably by early next week. So if you have a friend or a neighbor who's not here tonight, but who might be interested in the project, please feel free to share info with them so they can access this. So thank you again for being here, and I'll hand the baton back to Nikki.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Liv. I'll get us kicked off with introductions and I'll turn it over to Emma on our team. But my name's Nikki Reamer. So glad to be here tonight. Thank you all for your time. I am a transportation engineer with Consor Engineers. We're part of the team that's leading the effort on the consultant side for the Vision Zero action plans. So with that, I'll turn it over to Emma for intros.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma Isley. I'm also with Consor. I'm a transportation planner. And yeah, just really looking forward to continuing our efforts with this project and just making things safer for everyone.
Thanks, Emma. So just to kick us off, I'll just kind of go through some of the goals of the meeting. So kind of as Liv mentioned, the first thing that we'll cover is just what is Vision Zero, kind of just set up that technical background and kind of definition there around that so that we're all on the same page. And then secondly, look at information about the project itself and kind of give background about that, as well as provide an update on the schedule. And then we've also looked at some initial crash data as well. So we'll present that as well as kind of from our community engagement so far on the project, just give an update on what we've been hearing from the community. And then we also want to hear input from you all tonight as well. So I'll preface this as none of us plan on talking at you guys for the full hour and a half. We really plan to have this presentation to be about like 20 minutes or so. And then are really going to try to encourage discussion and learn any questions that you guys might have as well, and spend the bulk of the meeting on that. And then lastly, just as Liv mentioned, encourage that online survey and map participation as well. So make sure that you're either taking it or kind of sharing it with your friends and neighbors as well. So firstly, what is Vision Zero? So ultimately, Vision Zero is a strategy to eliminate all traffic fatalities and serious injuries for people using all modes of transportation. So with that, this map kind of summarizes a lot of the either counties or agencies or cities that have adopted Vision Zero nationwide. Kind of the purpose of this plan is ultimately to get Boulder County on the map here. So that's ultimately the goal, is at the end of this to develop a Vision Zero action plan that's going to be adopted and officially recognized and kind of a point on this map here. And then also want to talk a little bit about the safe system approach. So Vision Zero and kind of the safe system approach are really kind of go hand in hand. So if Vision Zero is kind of the goal, safe system approach is more kind of the how we can achieve Vision Zero. So with that, the safe system approach kind of acknowledges that no crashes are desirable, but ultimately emphasizes the focus on the crashes that result in death or serious injury, and that they're unacceptable. So with the safe system approach, it acknowledges that humans are vulnerable and ultimately will make mistakes when driving or walking or biking or kind of using the transportation system that'll ultimately lead to crashes. But the safe system approach expects the road to kind of be planned and designed and operated in a way that's forgiving of those inevitable mistakes. It also looks at that responsibility is shared by many groups, including, you know, the actual users of the road, policy and decision makers, kind of the engineers and planners, to the vehicle manufacturers themselves. And then lastly, the SAFE system kind of looks at safety in a proactive way and less of a reactive way, and kind of looks for ways to have redundancy in design or strategies to reduce those serious and fatal crashes as well. So with that, about this project, so the Unincorporated Boulder County Vision Zero Action Plan, sometimes shortened as VZAP, you'll see it, project. Really, Boulder County, the city of Lafayette, and the town of Superior joined forces in 2023 to apply for what's called a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, or SS4A grant. And the agencies were awarded with a planning demonstration grant for the development of a Vision Zero action plan. So with that, what that does is it's ultimately going to create a specific list of actions related to transportation safety, and then notes, you know, who's responsible for implementation and kind of potential funding sources for implementation as well. So just kind of the project area, this map kind of summarizes the areas that are unincorporated Boulder County, as well as Lafayette and Superior. Other kind of municipalities within Boulder County that aren't necessarily part of this planning effort, they've either have past kind of Vision Zero efforts ongoing or future ones planned. So kind of just to give some context of why some of the other municipalities within Boulder County aren't necessarily included in this plan. They've kind of got separate plans ongoing. And then just schedule. So we kicked off this project in April of this year. We've really been focusing kind of more on the data analysis piece right now, as well as this community engagement phase. So to kind of go over the project stages in a little bit more depth, the data analysis phase, which we're in right now, we're basically doing a deep dive in all of the safety and crash data within the county, and just really kind of trying to figure out where are the hot spots, what's going on, what's the trends, and be able to kind of identify those roadways that have the most serious and fatal injuries on them. And then once we've kind of got those identified, we'll ultimately start taking a look at, you know, what some recommendations countywide will look like, coming up with project development as well as prioritization as well. We'll also identify performance measures for all the recommendations and kind of actions coming out of the Vision Zero action plan, so that once the plan's actually done, they can be monitored over time, and kind of year over year, the county can take a look and see how we're achieving Vision Zero goals over the next several years. And then ultimately, we're going to create a draft and final Vision Zero action plan that can be delivered and adopted by the county. We're looking to have a draft Vision Zero action plan kind of by the end of this year, with that final one more available Q1 next year in 2025, and then ultimately adopted around April, May-ish time. So with that kind of happening concurrently, a really critical piece of this project is the community and stakeholder engagement. We'll kind of be in touch with the community and stakeholders throughout the entire duration. So specific outreach pushes to the community are kind of happening in two phases. We're currently in that first phase right now, which includes things like this public meeting tonight and some pop-up events and a digital survey that we've got going on that I'll chat through here in a second. But really are looking in this first phase to hear from the community, kind of about safety concerns, ideas, really kind of anything that's on your mind in the transportation safety space. We want to hear about it now. We'll ultimately end up kind of pairing that with our data analysis to help us figure out those recommendations. And then we'll be coming back to you guys before the end of the year, just to kind of present some of those draft recommendations as we're working towards that draft action plan. So kind of, no, this is a big push now, but also hold your calendars for the end of the year as well, for next touch point with you all. So I'm going to dive a little bit right now into just some initial crash analysis that we've done and kind of just what we've been finding. So this is the crash history in unincorporated Boulder County in the mountain towns. So Lafayette and Superior, like we had mentioned, are involved in the planning process. They will be getting their own Vision Zero action plan. So the numbers that are specified on the screen don't include Lafayette and don't include Superior. It's just the unincorporated and the mountain town areas. So with that, over the last 10 years, 135 people have died in traffic crashes in unincorporated Boulder County and the mountain towns. Overall, since 2020, the total crashes have been decreasing, but the percentage of serious injury and fatal crashes have increased. So you can kind of see these yellow bars here are the serious injury and fatal crashes, where the green ones kind of just summarize all crashes. So these numbers kind of still continue to grow in comparison to total crashes. And then we've also looked at the top 5 serious injury and fatal crash types as well. So fixed object kind of being that top one, about 16% of the crashes in the county are fixed objects. About 15 are overturning or rollover crashes. 11% are bicycle and broadside crashes. So broadside crashes are basically a more technical term for basically those T-bone crashes. So if someone's running a red light and it kind of results in a T-bone crash, that's basically what a broadside crash is. And then about 11% head-on crashes as well. So front of vehicle to front of vehicle. We're also taking a look at kind of spatially where these crashes are occurring as well. We'll kind of look at this in a few different ways. We'll look at where just the serious and fatal crashes are happening as well. But for right now, this map is just showing all crashes in the county. So basically everywhere where you see blue, it's a lower density of crash. And then when you start to see red and then the yellow, it's a higher density of crashes. So a lot of the crashes in the county, kind of just from like a density standpoint, are kind of happening on this segment of US 36, 119, as well as 287 are kind of those top roads, as well as you can see there's, plenty on 66 and then 119 west of Boulder as well, that are popping up as well. And then another thing we look at is, are these crashes happening at intersections? Are they happening kind of like mid-block in between intersections? So that's something that we're taking a look at as well. About 35% of the crashes in Boulder County have happened at intersections in our data set over the last 10 years. And then, so it's really important to have kind of all that technical analysis as part of the Vision Zero action plan, very data driven, but it's also really important to supplement that with community input and community feedback. So with that, it's really important for us to hear from you all about maybe locations that aren't popping up in the crash data. Maybe there's a bunch of near misses going on there, or there's speeding concerns that just aren't resulting in crashes yet. So it's really important to hear from the community to kind of just understand in those locations proactively and figure out what's going on kind of before crashes do occur. So with that, this kind of segueing into some of the community engagement pieces of the PowerPoint here, but collecting input in several different ways. So we've had in-person events. So just for Boulder County specific, Lafayette has got their specific pop-up event tomorrow night, and Superior has had their own, but Boulder County specific, we were at the Nederland Farmers Market 2 weekends ago. And then we'll be at the Ride for Magnus event this Sunday as well. So looking to kind of grab people as they're at these events. You can kind of see we've got maps that we set up with some project background as well, where we're basically marking up all of the feedback. And then we also have an online survey map, which I'll demo here in a second. And then the last way we're collecting input is the public meeting tonight. So like I said, a lot of this is going to be a discussion and we want to hear from you guys. So with that, the survey is open through August 31st. There is a QR code here, which this will be at the end, so don't worry if you miss it, as well as just a QR code link here as well. I'm gonna have Emma from my group drop in the link to the chat as well, so that you have access to that way. But this survey is open through August 31st. I'm gonna go over briefly kind of just what the survey looks like, and kind of just give a little demo so that you guys have that knowledge if you haven't taken it yet. So with that, this is the main project website here. Just kind of scrolling through it really quickly. There's kind of a section about project overview, upcoming meetings where you can register. This is probably where you found the meeting tonight. We've got the schedule here. In general, just how to connect with the project team. And then just general kind of safety progress to date in Boulder County, Lafayette, and Superior. And then just some FAQs and how you can reach us as well. So please use this webpage as kind of a landing place. This will be updated throughout the duration of the project. So kind of the latest and greatest of what's going on will be posted up here and updated frequently. This green bar right here is how we access the survey. So I'm just going to click on that just so you can kind of see how it looks like. When you get here, there'll be kind of this pop-up here with just a little bit of information on how to use it, or if you need Spanish speaking capabilities on the survey, it kind of guides you through how you can get there. And you can see this is kind of two parts. So we've got the map over here on the right, as well as kind of just some intro and then survey over here on the left. So I'll go over the survey first really quickly. But there's just some general questions asking like, where do you live? Where do you work? And then you can basically check these boxes of which municipalities you're interested in providing feedback on. So you can do multiple of them and it'll kind of change the questions below to be catered to that. You can just do one. You can kind of pick your adventure there with where you're providing feedback on. And then there's just a handful of questions about, you know, what modes of travel you use, how do you feel unsafe or not safe, or kind of that to kind of gauge so that we can kind of gauge by mode comfort level. And then yeah, so this is meant to take about, you know, 5 to 10 minutes. There's also some room at the end to be able to provide some open-ended feedback as well. So really want this to kind of be, you know, as interactive as possible. And then kind of the second piece of this survey is the actual map itself. So you can see there's a handful of icons at the top that you can just drag down to the location of interest. I'm not going to type in here just in the interest of not saving it, but you can type your comment in your email. If it's a specific like thing that you need to show more visually of a certain location, there is an option to like attach a photo. But you can see kind of on there's already been a handful of comments that we've received. So kind of just zooming in more, you know, the different types of mode concern can pop up and you can drag them, you know, wherever you feel that. So just a little demo there on how the survey works that hopefully makes it a little bit easier for you guys when you pop in there. Okay. So with that, I'm just going to kind of give a few summary slides of what we've heard so far. Again, this is mostly what we've heard from pop-up events. We've entered kind of all of the pop-up event survey into the system. So some of the summary that I'm going to give you is both people who have went on this map kind of on their own time and people that we've intercepted at the pop-up events as well. So with that, basically the people that selected that they wanted to give feedback on unincorporated Boulder County, we had about 250 a combination of both survey and map pin responses as well, for unincorporated Boulder County and the mountain towns. The majority of those people, 71%, were people who actually lived in unincorporated Boulder County and the mountain towns. So not just kind of passing through or not just kind of working there, but actually live in Boulder County. And then of the respondents, about 83% said that driving was their primary mode of travel. So with that, we did have a question about just kind of how safe do you feel traveling in Boulder County? There's kind of a few different buckets from like very safe, somewhat safe, neutral, somewhat unsafe, and then very unsafe, and an option of like, I don't use this mode. So we've kind of just grouped the very safe and somewhat unsafe, very unsafe kind of more generally to give the summary here. So you can kind of see that breakdown by mode. I think the biggest takeaway for us of at least what we've heard so far is that people that do use biking as their primary mode of travel, over 50% of people have said they felt unsafe. So that was kind of one of our key takeaways so far in the multimodal side of things. And then also, as I had mentioned, there's kind of that open-ended question. So here's just a few examples of kind of what we've heard so far. As all these surveys are coming in, we're going to be looking at every single one of them. So kind of at the end of August, we'll be looking at each of these individual comments as well. And this open-ended one in particular was in response to respondents stating they've been involved in the crash over the last several years in Boulder County. And then we've also so far just heard some themes. So again, we're going to reassess all of these themes at the end of August, but kind of just what we've heard to date. We've heard a lot about vehicle speeds, particularly on 119 and Foothills Parkway. We've also heard about some sight distance challenges approaching intersections. J Road was one particular that we heard that on. We've also heard about conflicts between vehicles and peds, or people walking basically on those higher speed roadways. 119 at Boulder Falls was one example of that. And then the last theme that we've heard is just lack of accommodation for bicyclists. So one example was 95th Street. So again, we'll kind of be building on this theme list. For each theme, we'll understand exactly what locations we're hearing this at, and we'll summarize this in more depth once we get through the end of August and have all the survey results. So with that, wanted to kick off a discussion. So we've kind of got 3 discussion questions. The first one is going to be a poll question, and then the second one we're going to maybe I'll pause. We'll do the poll one first, and then I'll kind of explain the rest of them. But the first thing that we want to really hear from you guys is what we've presented so far and the input that we've heard from the community, the crash data kind of, does it resonate with you? So with that, Liv is going to launch a poll. So you guys should see a poll box come up on your screen. It looks like it came up on mine, so you can probably see it. So over the next maybe minute, if you guys can vote, that would be great, just so we can gauge. And I'm also realizing kind of as you're filling that out, there might be a mistake on my part that we might not be able to send that link to you guys via chat. I don't think that's enabled. So we'll have that survey link and website kind of at the end. So
We were able to.
you were able to,
Yeah,
okay.
I believe so. We should confirm, but I think that
Thank
we
you.
agree. Yes, absolutely. And it looks like we have 5 responses so far to the poll, and just want to give another moment in case anyone else would like to respond. And if not, I will end the poll and share the results. All right.
Okay, so it looks like we've got out of the 5 that responded, yes, said the input that you've heard so far does resonate with you, and then 1 said partially. So with that, let's kind of, I guess, as we segue into this next kind of piece of discussion, would love to hear kind of a little bit more, maybe if the person that said partially is comfortable speaking, would love to kind of learn a little bit more about that. And then I'm actually gonna transition the screen over to Emma. We've got 2 discussion questions, one kind of being, are there additional concerns that we should be aware of? And then the next one being, what would a safe street look like to you? So we're really looking to hear from you guys, and we can do that in 2 ways. So one way would be if you guys raise your hand, we can unmute you guys and you can just kind of come off mute and speak, and we can kind of have dialogue back and forth. Or if you're not comfortable kind of coming off mute, we are able to have you guys type into the question and answer some of your comments, and we can go through each one. And Emma's going to be kind of writing down some of the stuff that's coming in, just in the spirit of transparency, so that we can kind of all see. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen so that Emma can pivot and kind of monitor. So I guess with that, I think, I think let's start with this first one of if the input doesn't resonate with you, or kind of partially, and you feel comfortable kind of stating why. Let's start with that one. Maybe we can kind of answer that. Maybe let's move to the next one if we're not hearing.
Looks like Katrina raised
Oh, okay.
hand and I just allowed her
Perfect.
permission to speak. Katrina, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, sorry, my chat's not able either, so I couldn't ask the question or explain. I did the partial part in that there's always a lot of data for down below, but not always up here. And I'm concerned about our growth up here, in that a lot of this is current and we have projects coming online and traffic, and especially pedestrian traffic changing, that I'm hoping is going to be able to be captured along where West 3rd meets Highway 119.
Okay.
Which is where the fire station is.
And you're talking about Netherland, is that correct?
Yes,
Katrina?
I'm sorry, it's
Okay.
Netherland. Yeah. And then unincorporated Boulder County. I help work on the Mountain Rides program, which is a bus that goes from Ward to Rollinsville 3 times a week. And there's not there the places that people hitchhike from and stuff up in Ward, like the Woodpile and stuff. It would just be great sometimes for the speed to be lower, I think, in some of those areas where our little towns cross the highway, where it just gets a little dicey. I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate that insight. I think let's go to the next question. So the next discussion question is, are there any additional transportation safety concerns that we should be aware of, kind of beyond what we covered in our presentation today?
It looks like Katrina. Are you able to speak now?
Yeah, sorry. This is going to be my theme. It's a lot of this is what's happening now, but are you looking at what's happening in areas and asking where development and where things will be in the future? I just know from Netherland, we have a new visitor center coming online by Mud Lake, again, on our new preschool that'll be built by the fire station. I know you can't capture data there because it doesn't exist yet, but I think there's a need to look at the future side of it. And that's probably the last time I'll mention it, but yeah, just making sure that that's part of the plan.
So looking through, like looking at, you know, existing land use, but also future proposed land use and development as well.
Yeah, a lot of us have, a lot of our municipalities have resolution 123 or prop 123, where we're increasing our affordable housing, and some of those are coming in terms of complexes of multi-unit dwellings and in the mountains. A lot of times those could be along highways, and that's where I start to get concerned that is there a future, you know, are we looking at the growth parts of unincorporated Weld County, sorry, where am I? Boulder County. Because all along the highway, there's lots of spots there that would be ideal for developing because they're along the highway, and people could start looking at that.
Awesome. I think that's a really great point and great perspective. And certainly something that we'll kind of consider as we're thinking more on that proactive side, not necessarily reacting to the data we have, but kind of thinking about safety in the proactive lens. There's a few more that have come in through the Q&A for some comments. So I'll kind of just summarize those out loud kind of as Emma's typing away. The first one kind of just being additional transportation safety. So a comment about overgrown vegetation and how it affects visibility. I think that's a great point. And then also considering lengths of traffic signal lights, for example, Niwot Road and 119, feeling like it's too short to get through both lights. Asking the question of, is it intentional, or seems like it would encourage people to run the light? So kind of the question of, is it intentional? Sometimes a lot of the times those corridors are timed to the speed limit to kind of encourage people to go the speed limit and not be going faster to kind of quote unquote beat the light. I can't speak for Niwot Road and 119 in particular. So at this moment, so certainly something we're going to document and kind of can look into. One of the things that we'll look into throughout our safety analysis at some of these signalized intersections are the signal timings and kind of potentially how that might impact safety at a particular location as well. So appreciate that comment. Certainly something we'll look into. And then we got one other comment about areas that do not have sidewalks, but with increasing growth, there is more and more pedestrians. Kind of that need for more pedestrian and walking space that might not be there now, but as that demand grows, kind of there's more need for that infrastructure. So I think with that one, you know, all of these kind of, if there's location specific type feedback where you've got that, would love to kind of direct you to the survey and map as well. So if there's a particular location where you feel like it's challenging maybe to walk because there isn't a sidewalk, you can kind of mark it on that map just so that we understand specific locations. I'm sure there's you know, potentially many that you're thinking of, but that would be helpful. That is all I'm seeing in the Q&A. If anyone has got anything else, please feel free to kind of just raise your hand and come off. We can let you come off mute as well. Okay, so another question or comment, I mean, just came through. Niwot is a good example of growth with limited pedestrian space. Thanks for that comment. So along with this question too, just are there any additional transportation safety concerns? Thinking about like maybe we'd love to hear now too if there's locations that might be challenging to cross as a pedestrian or bicyclist, or maybe you feel uncomfortable making a left turn at a location, or you feel like speeds are really high. So would welcome any kind of those just general or location specific type input as well. I know there's typically a lag on the Q&A, so I want to make sure I give everyone time, but I'm not seeing any come in and I'm not seeing any hands up. So maybe we go to the next question and can kind of always come back to this if more stuff trickles in. We want this to be kind of interactive as possible. So this next question, what would a safe street look like for you? So kind of thinking about an ideal situation, kind of, you're comfortable on the roadway. I think this can look different to many different people. So just kind of want to hear from this group on what this would look like to you. And just to give some examples too, to kind of get the juices flowing for, it could look like a space where it's really comfortable to bike, or a space where it's really comfortable to walk, or it could be, if you're driving in a vehicle, a space that is comfortable to drive. So it could be any mode. Really kind of want this to be very visionary of what that would look like for you. So we got one comment from Kimberly. Pedestrians and cyclists have a physical barrier when traffic exceeds 35 to 40 miles per hour. Agreed. So kind of the faster vehicle speeds make it more uncomfortable for peds and bikes. So kind of to build off that, would a safe street look like for you to kind of have more pedestrian bicyclist comforts, or would it look to separate those two modes? Kind of what are your thoughts there? Okay. So kind of Kimberly's response to that, either slow down car speeds where the road is shared or keep the modes completely separated. Thanks for that feedback. And then we've got one other person who has responded, a safe street, vehicular travel lanes less than 12 feet wide with defined spaces allocated for all modes of travel. And then kind of the same person, I think, along with the lines of that physical barrier, to either allow side-by-side bikes without encroaching on the roadway, or not allow side-by-side bikes. And then I think we could segue here too, if anyone has just general, we want to hear as much as we can about these targeted discussion questions, but if anyone has just any general questions for us, whether it's specific to the project or specific to transportation safety, we'd love to hear those as well. So this really anything that's on your minds, just want to encourage you all to feel like you can share, whether it's a question or a comment. Glad to answer them. Okay, one more just came in. Pedestrian crossings under the roads / tunnels for busy highways or streets. Thanks for that feedback. I think that builds along with kind of, just more emphasis on that kind of separation between the pedestrians and vehicles for those safe crossings. I think that's great. Okay. So I think what probably makes sense is as we're not really hearing anything more, please feel free to kind of, if as we finish the presentation, if you're thinking of more things, please drop them in the Q&A and we'll get them documented. So I don't want you to feel like because we're moving on, you still can't provide feedback. Would definitely still love to hear that. But with that, I guess maybe I'll share my screen back, Emma, and kind of just go over next steps and wrap up. So just to kind of wrap us up here, first and foremost, thank you so much for your feedback. All of this kind of the data points really do help us learn more from the community and ultimately kind of deliver a better plan. So really appreciate your time tonight. In terms of next steps kind of on our side, we're going to continue with that crash and technical analysis over the next month or two, and really kind of pair what we learned from the crash and safety analysis with the community input to start informing the development of the draft recommendations. And those recommendations might include a mix of more like engineering kind of design, very like engineering, like intersection specific recommendations, or more on the non-engineering side too. So kind of enforcement, education, kind of things like that. So it'll be a mix of both those engineering and non-engineering recommendations. And then ultimately, we'll develop a draft Boulder County Vision Zero action plan and bring that draft action plan back to the public for feedback on those draft recommendations. So that'll, like I kind of said in the schedule, that'll be kind of more towards the end of the year. So be on the lookout for that, looking for your feedback on those draft recommendations. And then lastly, how you can help. So this online survey is open through August 31st. So please feel free, if you haven't taken it yet or you think of things over the next few weeks, please fill that out. Feel free to share it with your networks and your friends and your family. So we'll really appreciate that. Visit the project website and sign up for updates as well. So each agency's got their kind of notification for newsletters, so you can sign up for those project updates and kind of promoting the next round of public meetings, things like that will kind of all be pushed through those newsletter platforms, in addition to social media and kind of other methods. But that's one way to kind of hear the latest and greatest. And then kind of just calendar to wrap up again, take the survey by August 31st, and then late fall, early winter, kind of towards the end of the year, we'll be coming back to you all with those recommendations. So just be on the lookout for that as well. So with that, again, just want to say thank you. Feel free to scan the QR code for the survey or Liv, and my contact information is here as well if you guys have any follow-up questions. So with that, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.